Hey, quick question. Why did the chicken cross the road?
To leave the RCB match.
This is a match, RCB match today, right?
Yeah, we're playing the Sunrisers, man. I mean, we lose to bad teams. So, I mean, I'm just
But you know who to bet your money on now.
whoever's playing against RCB, basically. All right, folks. Anyway, hello and welcome to another edition of the Startup Operator Roundup. Did you miss us?
Did you miss me?
Well, it's been a while. I'm Roshan Karyappa. We're going to run you through the news and events in the Indian startup ecosystem. Sorry, Gunjan, I just stole your line, but why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about?
You're so kind. You do my work yourself.
And mine. What I have to do.
Alright guys, so this week we'll be talking about Ola streamlining its operations by stopping the business in UK, New Zealand and Australia as the company seeks to increase the profitability ahead of the IPO. Elon Musk will be visiting India to meet Prime Minister Modi, and they're also in talks with Reliance for setting up a joint venture to manufacture EV units in India. Talking about manufacturing in India, Apple is now producing 1 in 7 iPhones.
Wow.
And the output has hit a total of $14 billion. I think this is a great start since
fantastic.
they started manufacturing. Again, continuing with manufacturing news, Sridhar Vembu has started a new company of power tools called Karuvi. The sleep company has rolled out its second tranche of ESOP buybacks worth 2.4 crore rupees for its employees, and we have some other fundraisers from the week. If you're a regular listener of the Startup Operator podcast, please consider sharing this video and rating a review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're a first-time listener, please subscribe for exciting content from the Indian startup ecosystem. Let's get started. Roshan, it's been some time.
Yeah, it's been a week.
What have you been up to?
Well, did you watch Prime Minister Modi's interaction with the gamers?
Oh, yeah. Someone's aging backwards.
Yeah, man. I mean, so the biggest influencer in India met gaming influencers, right? They even dubbed him Namo OP, right? So fun interaction, really. I mean, it's awesome to see that someone in his 70s still has that vibe and can relate with people, 50, 60 years younger than him, right? Great to see that. I mean, certainly, we've not had the best news from the gaming industry over the last year or so, right? With all of these GST complications, the retrospective taxes, game of skill, game of chance, all of those things, right? But hopefully this is a positive signal. So maybe if you're a founder or an investor in the gaming industry, you would have had something to smile after all.
Yeah, absolutely. Prime Minister Modi also, announced the launch of AI chatbot in the Namo app, and I think it's good. This chatbot gives you, information about all the central government schemes, welfare schemes, and stuff.
Right.
So I guess this is by far the most technologically active Prime Minister we have seen.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting if there is some kind of a vernacular interface, right? Or a voice or a chat interface for people to sort of engage with, the app, right? Yeah. And they get to ask questions around, schemes and so on and so forth. Almost as simple as, let's say, a WhatsApp, right? Yeah. That would be awesome.
Folks building in the generative AI space, guess where you heard this idea from?
That's a low-hanging fruit, I think. Yeah. Don't forget to thank us.
All right, let's get down to business. Ola Cabs has made a strategic decision to shut down its international operations in countries including UK, Australia, and New Zealand. This is due to increasing competition in the international market and the growing pressure across countries to transition into electric vehicles. The company's focus will now be on expanding its fleet within India, where, of course, there's a lot of opportunities. EVs is on the rise, and India itself serves as a big market. Internationally as well, the push towards electric vehicle is gaining a lot of momentum. And, for a company like Ola, they would need to invest significantly to catch up with competition and convert its existing fleet into electric vehicles, especially in Australia and UK. But one has to ask this question is that, Ola started expanding internationally, I think 2 to 3 years back. And these international expansions, of course, needed a huge investment. But now rolling back on it, IPO plans on the horizon. Yeah. What does this signal?
No, they're just trying to trim down all of the excess fat, right? I mean, look, the expansion was, at a time when Ola was still trying to play the valuation game on the ride-sharing business. what we've realized over the last couple of years with Uber listing and everything that's happened afterwards, right? It's an execution game right now. Okay, so you have to consolidate, profits. You have to make real margins on the business, right? And that's not going to come from some of these experimental things like the international business or Ola Foods and whatnot, right? So I think it's a step in the right direction. They're trying to focus on their core business. I do feel that with EVs and with the right price points, ride sharing can be absolutely profitable as well, right? I mean, the platform in itself has become somewhat of a utility at this point, right? So yeah, it's good that Ola is kind of not in that whole network scale sort of a mode and more in the consolidate and, profit kind of mode.
So we have also been hearing chatter about, brands, Indian origin brands making it big, right? And Ola is one of the most well-known startups in the country. Zomato is one of the most well-known startups in the country. These companies also expanded rapidly on international markets. But while the internal commentary within the ecosystem has been about scaling Indian brands abroad, we are now seeing that consolidation is happening where brands are returning back to India.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
No, it's a good point for sure, right? And maybe it's just a question of where they are in their journey right now, right? I won't rule out Ola maybe expanding internationally at some point in the future, right? Likewise with Zomato, I mean, they were in Middle East and Africa, but they also kind of rolled back, right? I guess, it is a function of like having to be in the public markets, right? With Zomato, I mean, they're already listed. With Ola, they're looking to list and so on, right? So I guess it is probably that. Right. So I won't rule out some of these brands expanding internationally for sure. Right. Because one thing is that, look, I mean, the kind of constraints that we have, if you learn to execute here, right, executing outside should not be that much of an issue, right? I mean, obviously, it'll have its own nuances and own sort of a cultural mix in the equation for sure, right? I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to be like easy, but certainly, I mean, I think if you execute hard in India, I think you're battle hardened to sort of take on more structured, more streamlined, demographics and societies, in the West, I would say.
Okay. So I guess then it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I suppose, like everything else.
So while you're waiting for homegrown brands to expand international brands are looking to set up shop in India and turn India as a hub for the Southeast Asia and global markets. Tesla is exploring such a partnership with Reliance Industries Limited to establish a EV manufacturing unit in India. These discussions are still in initial stages and have been ongoing for over a month. But yes, it is important to note that these are, not Reliance's entry to the EV market, but rather to build a capacity to manufacture EVs in India. The exact role that Reliance Industries will play in this venture is not yet fully defined. Elon Musk and his team of senior officials will be in the country sometime this month to talk with Prime Minister Modi, figure out the nitty-gritties of this partnership. Another aspect of this visit is going to be identify a location for the plant, and I think the top contender is Gujarat. And that's especially because of its close connectivity with the Mumbai port and, of course, the upcoming ports in Gujarat itself. So what do you make of that? Do you think India will become the next China?
Well, I mean, maybe not the next China, but see, if you look at Tesla, right, over the last couple of years or so, they have started, moving beyond China for its manufacturing capabilities and capacity, right? I mean, they have a plant in, I think, Berlin in Germany. They're looking at a plant in Mexico. Where else are you going to go, right? I mean, you can't ignore India, right? The size, scale, and demographics of the country is such that you can't ignore it. And we've played it kind of smart with Tesla over the last 2 or 3 years, right? Because there was huge pressure to sort of reduce the taxes and make Teslas more affordable in India and so on and so forth. But Mr. Nitin Gadkari said nothing doing, right? And, we're looking at sort of leveraging the market that India has, right? And the capabilities that India has, right? And rightly so, I think. So what we've said is, look, I mean, please do come here, right? But set up some infrastructure here, build the skill base here, contribute to the ecosystem here, and you're absolutely welcome, right? And, since then, they've reconsidered the taxes as well, right? So, yeah, my bet is that the plant will be in Gujarat, right? For sure. I think Maharashtra and even Bengal as well was in contention, I think. Right? But yeah, it's probably going to go to Gujarat, I think.
I hope Mamta Didi won't start protesting again like Sinur. So even if not to feed the Indian domestic market, I think a manufacturing hub in India will really help Tesla sell to the Southeast Asian markets as well.
Yeah.
That has a growing appetite.
For sure. And if you look at how the Asian economies have performed, right? I mean, they've been fairly insulated. Not to the, not completely, but I mean, relatively sort of insulated given how topsy-turvy the Western economies have been, right? So, yeah, I mean, you can't ignore Asia for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Samsung, right, has now become the world's number one mobile phone manufacturer. They just dethroned Apple.
Is it? Yeah. I think it's like a number one, number two situation for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
Samsung and Apple have like, I don't know, God knows how many lawsuits against each other. Yeah.
Then they're probably fueling an entire niche industry.
Yeah. Samsung contributes something like maybe about 30% of Korea's GDP or something, right?
Yeah.
Crazy. 19.4. Huh? 19.4. Oh, the producer says it's 19.4 and not 30.
You let us know in the comments.
Do let us know what you think in the comments. Yeah.
Okay, talking about iPhones, now 1 in every 7 iPhones is manufactured in India, and output has hit a whopping $14 billion in fiscal year 2024.
Absolutely fantastic.
This translates to almost 14% of Apple's flagship devices being assembled in India. Foxconn and Pegatron, which are two of the major Taiwanese manufacturers, have played significant roles in boosting Apple's production in India. Foxconn assembled nearly 67 of the India-made iPhones, while Pegatron contributed about 17%. The remaining portion was produced by Winston Corp plant in Karnataka. In recent developments, Pegatron is also in advanced discussions to transfer control of its only iPhone manufacturing facility, which is located near Chennai in Tamil Nadu, to the Tata Group. Additionally, Tata Group is also constructing another plant in Hosur, where Pegatron is expected to become joint partners. And apart from this, I think last week Tata Group signed a deal with Tesla as well to produce semiconductors in the country. So, have you invested in Tata stocks? Or are you going to invest in Tata stocks?
Hey, this is not a Finfluencer show, okay? I mean, come on. We don't recommend any stocks. Yeah, mostly because we suck at it. But yeah, I mean, see, this is one of those things. I'll tell you. I mean, when initially these iPhones were being considered here, right? I mean, there was some hype and also there was some criticism that, hey, this is going to be very low skill work. We're just assembling. We're not, designing stuff, and we're not doing any high end manufacturing and everything. And I kept saying, guys, look, you have to crawl before you walk, and you have to walk before you run, right? That's literally how things have played out, even with China as well, right? If you trace back to the early 90s and how, during the Clinton era and onwards, how they grew as well, right? I mean, you don't first attract the high-end work when you don't even have an ecosystem of sorts, right? So look at, our auto ancillaries industry, for instance, of the last 30 or 40 years, right? And how that has grown, for instance. So this is fantastic news. I think there's another plant that's going to come up in Karnataka itself. I suppose it's a Wistron plant or something, right? So we're definitely going to ramp on capacity. And, I was talking to someone who works in manufacturing, and they were saying that, the demand for both skilled and non-skilled workers, right, is really, really rising, right? Yeah. They're not able to service their demand, and so this will mean that people. I really feel that private institutes that teach certain of these manufacturing skills and whatnot will evolve, right? If you look at how we have something like 3,000 or 4,000, maybe more, right? Engineering colleges in India.
Probably more.
Yeah, producer, quick check, please. Yeah, I know that we have about 500-ish in Karnataka itself, right? If you think about how these colleges have evolved, I mean, it's simply to service a supply, right? I mean, service a demand rather. Sorry. So I mean, similarly, like your 6,000-ish, which is I mean, just about off by about 100%, but yeah. Yeah. So I do feel that these institutes will come up. So I think that, if you are, if you're an entrepreneur, I think one of those ideas, we're giving the second idea on this
Second idea,
podcast.
yeah.
No?
I think
Just
start
note that
a
down.
Accelerator program.
Yeah, start an incubator, accelerator, fund maybe. Yeah. But if you are, I mean, it's an interesting business idea to explore, right? Because these folks definitely need skilled workers. And if you're going to be teaching some of these manufacturing skills, I mean, there's a captive demand for it, for sure. Yeah.
Also, last week we spoke about the appointment of the likes of Sridhar Vembu and the
Yeah,
CEO
to
of
UGC,
NSC
right?
to the UGC
Yeah.
Council. I think also the entire education program, at least the higher level education programs in India, has been pending for a halt.
Yeah.
Right, and now that, as you mentioned, as demand is growing, I think
Yeah.
the education policies also somehow augment itself to cater to that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think even in the US, right, they have these schools. I forget what they call them, right? I mean, you graduate from them and you can be something of a lathe operator or some other kind of machine operator and so on, right? And they make reasonably good amount of money, right? And they're not burdened by all of that ridiculous student debt that's there in the US also, right? And in India itself, I mean, we had this ITIs, right? Technical institutes of God knows how long back, right? 50, 60 years back. I know people who have sort of graduated from there and they've had a reasonably good career, right? So I definitely see a need for it, for sure.
Keeping up with the manufacturing trend, Sridhar Vembu, who is the co-founder and CEO of Zoho, if you don't already know that, he has started an exciting new adventure. Zoho, which is known for making great software products, is now taking a path to make manufacturing power tools in India. The company is going to be called Karuvi, which carries a touch of Tamil heritage. It translates to instrument or a tool, which is a fitting moniker for a venture that aims to create practical tools for everyday use. So this factory is being set up in Tenkasi, right? And I think rural areas by itself provides a huge opportunity to set up for employment opportunities. And I think this is a great step, by Vembu sir.
Yeah. So he has said this on record that, Zoho had to reinvent itself from a networking company in the early days to a SaaS company, and that, there is another reinvention that is underway right now, and that Zoho will be unrecognizable after this reinvention, right? And it will be more on the R&D, engineering, infrastructure side of things, right? So, man, I trust Zoho Engineering to kind of come up with this kind of stuff, right? I mean, they've shipped, I don't know, 50 plus products over the last 25 years, competing with the likes of Google, Oracle, Microsoft, Salesforce, etc. This is absolutely amazing. I think the story is that there was a client in the Middle East that they were servicing, and that person had this idea that we should develop something of this sort,
and he gifted a power tool set.
yeah But it's pretty awesome, right? I mean, look, I think if you're a large company and you have good amount of cash, you should definitely invest in these kind of things, right? I mean, something that's out there, which is what Zoho is kind of doing right now.
Yeah.
And it helps that they're private and they don't have to answer to investors on where they're headed, what's the future like, and so on.
With Vembu sir entering the hardware side of things, another testament towards how cool hardware startups are becoming in the country.
I mean, I think so. What he said is they will start like manufacturing chips also. Yeah.
By chips, I mean
semiconductor chips. Not your anyway. Terrible.
So for our next topic, we have some ESOP buyback news. So folks, if anyone of you are from or know anyone from Sleep Company, please get in touch with us.
From which company?
The Sleep Company has announced a second tranche of its employee stock ownership plan buyback for employees. This will benefit a total of 105 employees. And something to note here is that many of these beneficiaries, almost 50% of them, are women employees. The first ESOP buyback by the company took place in 2023 and was worth around 83.5 lakh rupees. Indian startups saw a huge surge in ESOP liquidity events in 2021. There were buybacks worth around $440 million. Companies like Flipkart and Oyo rewarded quite generously, allowing employees to encash their vested shares. And now these are like I think, multi-billion-dollar companies. And I think after a long hiatus, we see some ESOP buyback news.
Yeah, no, it's very positive for sure, right? I mean, see, look, one very lucrative aspect of working in a startup is the fact that, you know, you have ESOPs and hopefully you will see liquidity at the end of, you know, whatever eventual journey that is. Right? I mean, usually these ESOPs are a pipe dream for like 90% of the people out there, right? It doesn't amount to much. And it's paper money, basically, something you can look at and feel happy about. So these kind of things make it real, you know. And so even if it's only 2.5 crores and not 2.5 million, right, it's amazing, you know. I mean, even if someone got 5 or 10 lakhs or even a couple of lakhs, it's just fantastic, really. You know, I remember a friend of mine who joined Freecharge, and you know, just 2 months after she joined or 3 months after she joined, Freecharge got acquired, right, and she got an instant bonus of like 10 lakhs or something like that, right? I mean, talk about timing, right? Pretty awesome. So yeah, good for the sleep company. Yeah, I mean, I see ads of the sleep company and Wakefit in Koramangala, right? And I'm not able to say which is which actually, right? I mean, they seem like sister brands.
Yeah, but do you get ads of Fredo?
What?
Fredo.
What is Fredo?
Fredo is this, you know, ergonomic mattress pillow manufacturing company. Man, my Instagram is filled with them. I don't know, like, how, like, why am I being targeted? I have no idea.
Considering that my phone is like, you know, 12 inches away, I think
Fredo.
I'm going to get some Fredo ads as well, right? So thanks for that.
Okay. All right. So the first 2 weeks of April has not seen much action in the fundraiser space. But in this past 2 weeks, AI startup NASA raised around $20 million from Matrix Partners India, Nexus Venture Partners, Menlo Park, and California-based NTTVC. Another company that raised funding of around $13 million or 110 crore rupees is climate tech startup Recycle. And they raised fund from the Category 2 scheme led by 361 Asset Management Limited. I've been hearing some chatter around this entire circular economy, right? You have any thoughts on
What's that?
Circular economy is like where you're manufacturing something and at the end of the product life cycle, the entire thing gets recycled and is reintroduced into the market.
Sounds interesting, but I haven't really read up on it.
I think we should have someone from the circular economy space on the podcast.
Yeah. So if you are in the circular economy, then, you know, please let us know and we'll reach out to you for sure. Or if you know someone, that is. Or you could suggest someone. Yeah. All of the above.
So last week, Vinod Khosla tweeted that, you know, exactly 20 years ago, Khosla Ventures was founded. He talks about, you know, betting on some kick-ass people like Jack Ma, Sam Altman, and Patrick Collison, building new categories like Impossible Foods, QuantumScape Co., and Rocket Lab. And, you know, he's betting big on the next 20 years on spaces like AI doctors, tutors, Mark V flights, and 1 billion programmers, and so much more. So a big congratulations to the Khosla Ventures team. Can't wait to see the wonderful things you guys will be doing.
So Mr. Khosla is the OGest of OGs, I would say, right? I mean, he is invested in some truly phenomenal people, founders and companies. Look, I mean, the guy has a very unique and, you know, very bold perspective on things, and he doesn't hold back, right? I mean, he's on record saying many scandalous things, right? And, you know, including the fact that he says, you know, literature grads are useless or something to that effect, right? We saw the whole Twitter fight between him and Elon as well recently. So yeah, I mean, the reason I think he's successful is also because he takes these bold bets. He's not afraid to, afraid to sort of polarize as such, right? I mean, look at Impossible Foods. You know, I mean, people thought he was legitimately nuts for thinking about alternate meats and so on and so forth, you know, 5 or 6 or 7 years back, right? But today, I mean, that space is so hot, right? Again, climate tech is something he's been investing in for, you know, more than a decade, I would say, right? And today, you know, climate is again really hot, right?
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But yeah, I mean, that's what it takes, I guess, to be successful in VC, right? I mean, because otherwise you're always going to be lagging the market, right? So truly phenomenal person, absolutely an inspiration for anyone who strives for excellence, in this world. So I'm really, looking forward to the next 20 years of Khosla Ventures, absolutely killing it.
Awesome. All right. So I guess that was it for this week's roundup. We hope you had some interesting insights to take back with you. If you enjoyed, let us know by liking this video and sharing it with your network. Please do leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, as that really helps more folks like you to discover our content. We keep receiving such wonderful messages from you that, hey, you guys are doing great but not seeing the scale. So help us achieve that scale.
Also, I mean, to the person who said that, we should produce Hindi podcasts. We are hoping that some AI widget will kind of help us do that for us, right? So we'll just wait for AI to catch up and
Meanwhile, Roshan, maybe we should brush up your Hindi.
Yeah, मुझे हिंदी तो जबरदस्त आता है, but let's stop it at that. But a few fantastic episodes lined up, folks. I mean, phenomenal entrepreneurs, really good insights for you guys in store. So don't forget to subscribe, follow, all of that stuff, and we'll see you soon.
Take care and all the best.